everybody, my name is Rhett. I'm the student minister here at Preston Road, and I'd like to talk to you today about Ananias and Sapphira. They come out of the book of Acts, and they're following the lead of a person named Barnabas. He had sold his possessions and given it all to the church. And so they saw this, and they immediately went and sold all of their land. So they come to bring it to Peter, and they say, hey, look at this. We've sold our house. We have everything. This is everything we have. We are giving it to you to help spread to the community, to help feed the poor. We're giving all we have as a part of our service. The thing is, they weren't truthful about giving all that they had. They had only given a portion of what they had gotten for the land, and they had kept some for themselves. They weren't really sure if this whole community living was going to be able to work out, and what happens if their needs weren't met. They're not really a lot of the trust in God to kind of fulfill what was going on. So yes, we're going to follow Barnabas, and we're going to give this money. We're going to give these possessions, but we're still got a backup plan just in case this whole thing doesn't work. And so Peter knows what they're doing. And this is where the story kind of takes a darker turn. We pick up right here in Acts 5, verse 3. Then Peter said, Ananias, how is it that Satan has filled your heart, that you have lied to the Holy Spirit and have kept for yourself some of the money you received for the land? And then the story takes a darker turn. A little bit later on, we see that Ananias dies. And from there, a few hours later, his wife Sapphira comes in and lies too. Says, no, this is the full amount we got for the house. Here you go. This is the full amount we got for the land. Here you go. This is all we have. We wanted to give it. Yes, that's the right price. Because Peter questioned her and said, hey, is this really how much? From there, she dies as well. And so we see this tragic story, and we kind of break it down some, and we break it down to the point to where they lie. They kind of tell a little bit of the truth. Yes, we got this money from selling our house. It looks on the outside like it's probably going to be true. Hey, we're giving this large sum of money. But they hid some of the smaller details. They hid a little bit of the money. As Christians, I feel like we do this all the time when we come before God. We sit before the throne and we say, hey, listen, my sin's not that deep. It's deep and it's bad, but it's the socially acceptable bad. You know, when we come before church and we have those moments where we want to share because other people are breaking down, let's share 90%, but we're not going to share that last 10% because we're afraid of what it'll make us look like. So we sit there, and while we think, you know what, we're being truthful, we're just not sharing it all. We're holding back from contributing to our community by creating a safe space to talk. We go before the throne and we're sitting there in prayer and we say, God, I need help. I've struggled. I've done this. I've done this. But sometimes we hate to admit that last 10% because we're afraid of the way that God will look at us. So once again, we hold back. This story isn't necessarily about that they held back. This story is about that they failed to admit that they were holding back. As a community of believers, we gather together and we prepare to share with one another. But that's just not our physical blessings. That's our spiritual blessings as well. That's our pain and suffering we've brought from our past and we've brought to future that we can share because we have accomplished something through God that we can give to somebody else. I have a preacher friend who gave me this analogy long ago. And it's not even an analogy, it's the truth. When Jesus went to the cross, he carried the cross on his back all the way there. That cross didn't just pay for some of our suffering. that cross didn't just pay for 90%. It paid for the whole thing. We look at ourselves, and I love the story about get the plank out of your eye before you get the speck out of someone else's. Well, I'm here to tell you that plank in our eye is the same plank that was nailed to Jesus' back. We have to continue overcoming the obstacle of holding back. We frequently enough hold back. And when we share once, we're saying, okay, we're good for sharing with God, with our community. Now we're not going to share for a while. We're going to keep giving 90. As a community of believers, it's time for us to have a revival, to focus on giving 100% of ourselves to the people around us and to God. It's a hard task, and it's not easy. But when we join together arm in arm, 100% and 100% loving each other for who we are, coming before the throne, we start to bring heaven down to earth. And we get to celebrate and rejoice. I hope to see you all real soon. But until then,